Do.
Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your boy Bodkins, and of course, along with me is my guy Wit and Mr. Bobby Blunts. It's Wednesday, folks. It is time. We have a pay-per-view this Saturday, UFC 312, headlined by the reigning middleweight champ Dricus du Plessis versus the former middleweight champ Sean Strickland in a rematch of last year. But before we talk about 312, we actually have to go back. And speaking of King of the Middleweights, we have to talk about UFC Saudi Arabia, just mainly the main event. On Saturday, we got the return of the style bender, who arguably is the second greatest, in my book, the second greatest middleweight all time. I thought in the very first round, he looked pretty dang good. And then in the second round, he got caught. And I mean, maybe the lights didn't go all the way out, but I thought it was a good stoppage. And Imanov could be very well next for the title. Bobby, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the fight, and then we'll I want to get your guys' opinion too on what's next for Mr. Adesanya.
Yeah, that was the one fight on the main card that exceptionally kind of delivered. Izzy did look good in the beginning. He seemed to have a very high pace, more than normal too. So kind of immediately what I thought going into that second round was, is he going to be able to kind of hold this pace and stuff? Or was he kind of relying on that to try to get the fight done early? But, I definitely think Imanov did a fantastic job of kind of doing constant level changing just to really make Izzy thinking of the takedown, made him kind of lower his hands and stuff. And then he was really using kind of the clinch very good to, determine the reach in the boxing range. And that's kind of how he was able to set up and get it done in the second round. So, that was fairly surprising to me. I thought it would kind of be more by a sub, but he definitely kind of was able to keep it in boxing range and put on pressure and kind of take advantage of that second round. So hell of a performance. It's hard not to say he doesn't deserve a title shot or is one away easily. I mean, middleweight's extremely exciting right now when you look at kind of, there's a new generation and an old generation kind of where the division is at. And, these new guys in the top five, you can give me any of those fights almost simultaneously. It's at a pretty good spot. So, I thought it was a good performance overall. And it was tough seeing Izzy go out like that. But I do wonder, I don't think Izzy from a few years ago would have got caught with that. He did seem a tad bit slower, but, who am I to really say that? But I'm just kind of going off what I was watching there.
Wait, what about you, my man? What was your thoughts on that fight? Again, I thought Izzy looked pretty good in the first round and just got caught, and kudos to Imanov.
First off, man, when we were talking about this fight a week or so ago, not last week because I had an emergency, I had to go take care of the family and stuff. But the week before, and we were predicting this fight, I got a lot of pushback from the peanut gallery. Not just you, but several other people who were watching the show and hit me up on X, how could you? First of all, let me tell y'all this. Israel Adesanya's resume is cemented in MMA history. Let's go ahead and put that out there. It's done. It's written. He's done everything he could. He's been the champ. He's one of only few to ever beat Poetar. That's enough, in my opinion, right? Then somehow, some way, we're at a place where right now, if you're not paying attention, guess what? It's over. This is. I'm not going to say it's over, but this is the era where it could be over in no time. And right about now, this is one of those moments where the new guard is coming in, especially in that division. High, and it's high competition. The competition right now is crazy at the top, where you're thinking about, you know, Sean Strickland. We can worry about that later. Nasser Dean, Hamza, Robert Whitaker, Kyle Bahalo. Let's take Robert Whitaker and Israel Adesanya out. Let's slide Kyle Bahalo up, and maybe still yet you got some real strong comp. But once again, man, it's really upsetting to see that it happened that way. But I think you made a really great point to see that they say it was a good stoppage. Like it was worth stopping it. I don't want to see him go out crazy like that.
Yeah, and with like to your point, like what do you guys think's next for Izzy? Because like I think it needs to be maybe not a killer like one of these top level guys, like we're like a Apollo Costa at 11 or like a Jared Cannonier at 7. Do you do like a rematch or like a Brendan Allen or somebody like that is at 9? Like where does Izzy go from here? Because he's fought everybody, outside of Hamzat at 3 that's in the top 5. And I don't really want to see him fight. I think if he fights Kato Bahado, it might be the same result we got on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I absolutely credit Izzy for taking this fight because he wanted to still like go to the top of the division and stuff. But at the same time, I would have almost kind of argued against it in principle, because if you look at his last 2 losses, he lost the title, and then after losing the title, he got the rematch. And he's fighting, or not the rematch, I'm sorry. He got another title shot fighting Drekis. And what are you doing there? You're fighting, the top of the top. And like, how much better would it have been if they like matched up Izzy against like Shara Bullet or something? I know people would think that's like way too much of a step down because like he was barely in the rankings, but I think we are at the point in his career where I would much rather see more kind of fan friendly matchups, and that just means more of it, because I mean that was obviously a great fight that we saw on Saturday. So but I think the competition, you should be kind of hovering the bottom of that rankings. I would not want to really see him face Kyle. I think Paulo Costa is perfect. Like, ones like that, it doesn't really bother me that it's a rematch. Like that's one that there was only one fight of. And, I think that would be like almost a perfect pairing, but something definitely down in, outside the top 10, I would prefer. Because at this point, the bigger question is, does he want to continue his career like that? Maybe he only wants to fight the top guys. And if he can't do that, he's going to call it a day. But I'll kind of just wait to see him figure it out. And, I'm hoping he can come to a decision that most importantly, he's happy with.
Yeah, what about you? What do you think is kind of next for Izzy? Because like to me, like I was saying, like I kind of agree with what Bobby's saying. Like not in the top 10. And is Izzy to a point really where like he doesn't need to fight? Like his star power is so much like he doesn't need to fight a top guy. He can always main event, maybe a headline, a paper, not maybe a pay-per-view if he's not ranked, but doesn't need a ranking. Can always headline any night that he wants to. So what's your thoughts?
Somewhere I'm really in agreement with Bobby on this one. It's kind of it's kind of one of those things where we don't want to see some of the most exciting fighters go down that long dark hallway of taking random losses to random guys. And in the UFC, in the case where you get some fighters just because of the wear and tear on their body. Let's not forget Israel Adesanya has had a storied kickboxing Muay Thai career as well. You know, that plays into it. And then you get to that point, man, like as 35, 36, 37 rolls along, your jaw is not connected to your head like you think it is. You know, let's ask Chuck Liddell about that. Chuck Liddell was the man at some point in time, and randomly a fly would land on his jaw and he would get put out. You know, I'm not speaking that to demean Chuck Liddell's whole his whole resume. I'm not demeaning that. I'm just saying towards the end, it's what happens. Just like with great athletes in football, you get that one concussion, it's easier for you to get the second one. Tua Tagovailoa looked ridiculous. You know, he looked like a competitor the first time he went out there and had a concussion and said, you know what, I'm coming back in about 2 weeks. That third or fourth time, we was like, man, sit down. You know what I mean? And for me, because Israel Adesanya has the tools to do so much more, I believe, outside of the world of MMA, you know, I could see him taking a backseat and joining, you know, a broadcast crew. I can see that. I don't want to see him do something outrageous like fight Jake Paul. I don't want to see that. But, you know, hey, I guarantee you the fight gods of you know, what you want to call it. Now, I don't want to call it like joke boxing, but you know, entertainment boxing world is going to come knocking on his door and go, hey man, look, don't get in the MMA ring. You always had hands. Why don't you fight random person number one? And we're gonna pay you millions of dollars to be on a fight card in Saudi Arabia in a year or something. But I just don't want to see him go down, you know, that dark alley of 15, 16 and
I don't know what
get
his contract. I don't know what his contract looks like. Like, I don't know how many fights he has before. And he doesn't seem like the type of person that's interested in doing this celebrity boxing, you know, influence stuff. So I think it's UFC or retirement. Like,
well, he's always going to be. He'll always be main eventing, just solely on the fact of, you know, he is one of the better paid athletes on the roster. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the UFC is always going to want to showcase him. But I think you could do it with anyone. I mean, so if he wants to do a few more, let him do it. But to me, the fight on Saturday already wasn't going to change, you know, what I thought of his past legacy. You know, the time all comes one day. And, you know, unfortunately, it does seem like a lot of people are wondering what's going on with Izzy. I'm almost more interested, like, what is next for Nasruddin, you know, because he had a hell of a performance. And you know, I would, that's who I want to see fight.
Let me ask you. So let me ask you guys this, because they're both right there. They're both knocking on the door, and they both just kind of, Bobby mentioned it, like we have this old guard and new guard. What was the more impressive win? Imanov beating Izzy on Saturday, or a couple months ago, Hamzat beating Robert Whittaker? What was the more impressive win?
Now that you bring it up, you gotta impressive based on the lore, like the draw. To me, the more impressive would be Hamzat, because, you know, of the submission in which he put on Robert Whittaker is that picture of Robert Whittaker's jaw being detached, and it happened so quickly, is going to live on way longer than Nasruddin Imavov knocking Izzy out in the 30 seconds of the third round, I think, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Hamzat Chimaev being unknowingly that strong to break a man's jaw is way worse than Nasruddin Imavov catching Izzy off guard. You know what I mean? And I'm not taking, and I don't want to take away from Nasruddin. Man of the hour.
I hate that you're asking me the question. It's like impossible to pick. Just because, like, for me, like the Chimaev fight brought back kind of the old Chimaev that everyone's like, oh shit, like here we
Scary.
go, like unlike the last few performances. So like I
Yeah.
think in the end that probably had a bigger impact. But at the same time, after Nasruddin's performance, I know this isn't going to happen because Chimaev is clearly next for the title shot. But I would love for them to just have the two of them fight. Because it's just, Drekus got Izzy out of there in 4 eventually. And, you're kind of seeing the common like pattern, like Strickland beat him up for 5 rounds. Then Drickus was able to finish him in 4. And then this time, Nasruddin was able to get it done in 2. So it's hard for me to really go back and forth. But I think in the end, the one that will have more impact is Chimaev. But when you talk about impressive, it might be recency bias, but I want to go Nasruddin or Monov.
So the reason I ask that, because whatever your answer is to that question should be your answer is to the winner of this fight gets that person. Like, so if you're telling me that Hamzat had the more impressive win over Robert Whitaker, then he gets the title fight over the winner this weekend. And if you're telling me Nasruddin Imanov gets the win, I was more impressive, then he should get the title fight next. I'm kind of with you, Bobby. I do think that he's next, that Hamzat's next for the title. But as far as Nasruddin Imanov, I think he should get the loser of this fight. Run it back with Sean Strickland. I don't really want to kill off Kaio yet, or like him and Kaio yet, due to the fact that they're both young blood in this game. But let him get the loser. Go ahead, Whit.
But guys, what if? Because we all know the UFC fight makers oftentimes don't know shit about what we think, or they don't care. What if?
Right.
Just what if somehow, some way, and I'm with this because Bacchus, you make a great point. If Chimaev's breaking the jaw is put on a platform, and then Imamov's second round knockout, and we put them on the scale, and they're equal. Wouldn't it make sense to have a title eliminator in 3 months, and we do a nice little June, July, Chimaev Imamov, and the winner gets the winner out of Strickland Drickus this weekend? I think that would be
timeline fit. So I just feel like in that scenario, you're making the champ wait when they're all 3 will be ready about the same time. That's the reason I don't want to do Chimaev and Imanov. Go ahead, Bobby.
So if you think like Chimaev, I'm pretty sure they're saving for International Fight Week. He will either be main eventing or he'll be like on the co-main. But I think whoever wins the fight on Saturday, that is pretty much going to be the plan with Chimaev. The reason I was suggesting,
let's see, what are we, February to July? I guess that's plenty of time.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I was recommending Kaio fight Nasruddin was mainly because I don't want to see Kaio beat up another old guy. Like, I think like some of these guys, like I get the whole aspect of killing off a star and stuff, but at the same time, like I don't think either of those two losing in a matchup between each other is going to drop them out of that range. So like it's just like, to me, it's like just such an intriguing like style matchup. That could and especially like you could even place it on the same card that they do the Chimaev thing. But like I said at the beginning of this, the top of middleweight is looking fairly healthy there, and it's just going to kind of be watching to see how they, I know we'll probably get to MVP in a little, but like I would say stay up at 185 instead, but it seems like he's going to be going back down to 170. So, the division is exciting. There's just like kind of different like tiers, kind of just based on like age and recent wins.
Yeah. It's good to get some of this new blood in the rankings. Like I do like it. We are seeing kind of a changing of the guards. So nonetheless, we'll go ahead. We'll shift gears here and we'll get into UFC 312 live from Sydney, Australia. I believe, is it in Sydney? I know it's in Australia.
Yeah.
But headlined by none other weight champion Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. And then we have the women's strawweight. Whaley makes her return, and she's taking on the ever game Tatiana Suarez. But we'll start kind of just at the bottom of the card with. I mean, let me just kind of get your thoughts first before we start looking at each fight. With what's your make of this card? To me, like I was telling Bobby off air, like this card's not the greatest, but it is your typical Australian home flavor card.
Mute.
You're muted.
This is how you hit the button. That's what I was gonna say. This is how you hit the button. But anyway, like in reality, man, when you want home cooking, you know, and you want flavor in your food, I don't really think of Australia. You know what I'm saying? So this is very much indicative of an Australia card. Yes, there's some now a Brazilian card, spicy. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the word is in Brazil for spicy, that will be but here it's a little plain, because I think we have a lot of the Brazilian fighters in which we are unfamiliar with on this card, which we need to grow a database for, because you know somewhere, some way, somehow, you know, we got Izzy out of this same equation. You know, we got Justin Taffa, Jimmy Crute, who I got a chance to see, and then Jake Matthews, you know what I'm saying, on the main. These are some guys in which, if this is what you want to do for Brazil, I mean, not Brazil, so I'm sorry, for Australia, then we got to show them some love, regardless of the namesake of who's on here. Now on the opposite end, there still some up and coming stars. So this isn't really made to be the main thing, but it's extremely top heavy when you talk about Zhang Weili and Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. I mean, but then let's not sleep. Tatiana Suarez is right there along with everybody else, and somehow, some way, you know, to kind of lean into it just a little bit. You know, we got Justin Taffa and Taliesin Teixeira. I think in reality, this card is made to not last long. You know what I mean? These at least of the main card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights, right? 3 out of 5 ain't gonna make it to the third round. I guarantee.
Yeah,
it is what it is. You know.
What about you, Bobby? Just the overall feeling on this card.
I'm actually digging it to a certain extent. Because I obviously had to like look up and go over it. You know, I think it's getting a you know, I would say a justifiable. I wouldn't agree with it, but a justifiable amount of hate because Strickland got the rematch. So there are people like automatically poo-pooing it because of that. When you break down the main card, sure, there's like nothing that's, you know, too wild, but they do have, you know, kind of the Australian aspect to it and stuff. The dude Taffa is fighting is one of the Contender Series guys. So this is his debut fight. So, you know, the UFC's gotten used to doing the typical showcase a contender that's coming off the Contender Series on the main card. So maybe I've just like grown a little bit used to it. But then when you go down to the prelims, you got Wayne Kong, you know, that one, the Joker chick who ended up losing in her last fight where she was like a minus 800. So they're doing similar matchmaking with that. And probably
still
the most
a pretty
interesting
favorite. She's a minus 450 favorite. She's a minus 450 favorite now.
Just as heavy of a favorite. And probably the one that's most like interesting to me is Ilia Toporia's brother is debuting on this card. And they pretty much brought in one of Volk's boys. So both of these guys are going to be on their pretty much debut in the UFC. So that's like kind of adding some unusual flavor, because I know the UFC doesn't really know what they have with Toporia's brother. Whit, you got the card pulled up there. You want to pronounce? I think it's.
I do. I got it right here.
Yeah, because it's like
what you need.
His brother's
first
name. It's Alexandre Pan.
Yeah. Alexandre.
I thought you was going to I thought you was going to ask me about the worst name on here. We got Nia Marjikal Temerati Morel.
Yeah, no, I guess I just actually had to read it. But that one's on.
And that dude got every letter of the alphabet in his first.
It's not all consonants, baby. All consonants. M N D M B R.
Yeah. The only thing he don't got is like an X or a Z, or he even got a Z in there, I think.
He got no Z, but it's everything else though, baby.
And then you got Nolan and Slavaklov. So I mean that should be entertaining. But I'm really interested to see. Merab claims that Toporia's brother is just everything as good as him. I know he's mainly been his coach and he's put his MMA career on hold, but I'm just kind of interested to see if he's going to be someone or if he's going to be more like Mo Usman. So
they got Topuria here minus 400 favorite. He is 5-1, and he's taking on Colby Thickness, who is plus 300. So
it sounds like a creative fighter to me, boss. I can't really go with Corey Thickness. It's giving creative fighter. You know how you just go random on the last name right there? That's what it's making me feel like right here. But shout out to Corey Thickness, man.
I like the story of that one. It's pretty much like he wants to avenge like the Volk loss, and so that's an interesting dynamic, and they figure out a way to put it on embedded and stuff. So I mean, all better things to sell the fight. But I definitely, I'd probably rate this like a 7 or something as far as like a card, because I am keen on the 2 title fights at the top of the card. But I know a lot more people would poo-poo it and probably give it like under a 5. So I think
I'd probably give it a 5. There's only 4 ranked fighters on the whole card. Only 4 ranked fighters. That's my beef.
The one thing that'll make this better, in my opinion, is if we turn it on and these Australians are wailing on everybody, which is very hard to say as we can see that. I mean, we get the Aborigines in there, we throw a kangaroo inside. I don't know, but we got to make it exciting.
They didn't give Australia an easy night, so hopefully the crowd holds.
Yeah. My thing is they needed another like a contender fight on this card. Like if you're gonna have the 2 title fights, I need a number 1 contender fight or like a 2 contenders. That's what this card needed. Like it needed one more good kind of appetizer to the main and the co-main. Like that's how I feel every pay-per-view should be. If you're it needs at least 1 or 2. So if you're only gonna have 1 title fight, you need a number 1 contender fight, and then like another fight, like or two almost one to number 1 contender. If you're gonna have 2 title fights, you need one number 1 contender, where 2 contenders are battling up.
Now, the
3, 4 of 2 and 3, like that's how.
Now, what I was seeing on I was looking at yesterday. It's one of the things that I don't know, so that's why I was reading. Is that Argentinian Francisco Prado and Jake Matthews is actually set up is welterweight, but it's set up to be not boring because both of these guys come in with records that are mentionable in any other promotion. And I was like, well, I got to look at it and check and see. But I mean, to me, if we want to, just like you said, if you want to have a second appetizer, It's more like going to one of those fancy, the chef's meals where they just start bringing out stuff and we don't know what it is and they don't tell you. So this one, I think this is comparable to that. It's chef's choice. That's what they call it, chef's choice. You're just at the table. They're bringing out sides. They're bringing out main courses, and then they tell you, after you ate like the whole half a pig, that there's dessert, and the dessert would be Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland.
Let's get into the main card. It opens up with the aforementioned Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is 20-7. He has coming off a win back in June. He has actually won, lost one in his last 5. So he's won 3 out of his last 5. He is the favorite on the card at -235. He has taken on Francisco Prado, who is 12-2. Prado is also won 3 out of his last 5 fights, but this is only his 4th fight in the UFC. Who you like in this one?
All right. So as we were talking, I'm bringing it up right here, man. So real fast, as I normally like to do, man, I look at what the people are saying, and right now 1,022 people are riding with my man Jake Matthews, man. 79% thinking he's going to take him out with the heavy side of decision in this one. But Carlos Prato is down on the bottom of this one based on Tapology and with a submission. I'm going to run with the people on this one because I am unaware as to who does what the best. Jake Matthews, the Celtic kid versus San Francisco Prado. I'm gonna see what's really good with Jake Matthews on this one, and let's see if it doesn't make it to. It looks like from the So Matthews is out of his last 5, he's lost 2. And then on the opposite end, same thing for Prado. But Prado's coming off of a loss. Matthews is coming off of a win. Still 2 losses each in the last 5 fights. 20-7 with Prado. 20-7 with Matthews, and 12-2 with Prado. I'm liking the more seasoned fighter in this one. So we're gonna run with Jake Matthews. I'm gonna put that prediction on Tapology.
What about you, Bobby? Who you like this one?
Yeah, I think I'm probably leaning towards Matthews as well. It's interesting that they're opening with a 185 fight on there. So, I'd kind of be interested to see if one of these guys is going to, put themselves out there and ahead. But, Matthews will have kind of the crowd behind him and stuff with opening up the pay-per-view. It'll be right after Nolan's fight. So I'm sure, the crowd will be in good spirits. So I think he would probably net out a decision. But Prado is very dangerous, so he's not really to be slept on. If I was betting on it, I'd probably just take Prado because he's the dog, and I see it a lot more as a 50-50 fight. So, decent enough fight to open up the main card. But, this kind of goes into what you're talking about of you want a little bit more coming in, but at the same time, whenever we're kind of like sleeping on a fight, it ends up being that one looking back that like really delivers and stuff. So it wouldn't shock me at all if this is the ones we're talking about, especially when we kind of have a decent idea of how the kind of main and co-main would probably go. This could be one of the more fights with a lot of kind of back and forth action in it. But I'll probably pick Matthews there.
So you got Matthews?
Yeah,
I'm right there with you guys. I do think Jake probably wins this in a close decision fight. So, I think it's probably like 1-1, and then something happens kind of in the third towards the end, and Jake secures it. So, give me Jake Matthews as well. The next fight, we got Australia's own Jimmy Crute, and he's taken who is 12-4-1, but Jimmy is not had a great run as of late. In fact, he's lost It's really one was a draw, but he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. He has not won a fight since October 17th, 2020. So there's against Bukakis. After that, lost to Anthony Smith, lost to Jamal Hill, had a draw against Menifield, lost to Menifield. That was back in July. And remember, in July, he almost looked like he was going to retire. But Anthony Smith told him no. But then you have Rodolfo Bellato, who is 12-2. He has won 4 out of his last 5. He is making his second fight in the UFC, though. Bobby, I'll start with you. Who you like here?
Again, to your point, that's pretty wild that they kind of got. I'm sorry that the buildup just kind of got me cracking up there. No disrespect, but I wasn't expecting.
None never taken. None taken.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Rudafolo Bellato.
Rodolfo Bellato, Rudafolo, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, 205 is kind of that division where I guess you can have a skid like that. It's clear that they're having him on the main card because, he's local and stuff. Otherwise, they probably, normally wouldn't have this there. But it should be a pretty, decent fight. You got 2 light heavyweights throwing at each other. But I would probably have to go with Bellato there just because, that 4 fight skid is rough to come out of. But it is, I will say, kind of wild that it sounds like he was undefeated and then he ended up going,
skid
4. So, he could easily turn back the clock, and this could definitely be the fight for him there. But, if you're making me pick one, it'd probably be the one that isn't on the 4-fight losing streak. So give me Bellato.
And Jimmy's only 28 too. Like, he's still young, so he can, you know what I mean. But man, to lose 5 that'd be tough. Go ahead, Whit.
Oh man, so looking at the numbers, man, like I always like to do. We all already pretty much kicked it off, man. Recruit having a bad last 5 fights. Rodolfo basically having his way with his last 5, but he last 4 in 2023. When we're looking at Tapology, nobody is going with Recruit right now. 82% knockout is what we got from 1,061 people on Tapology. It's crazy to see it that way. I love this
Tapology is cool, man. That's so wild.
Yeah, 82%, dog. Nobody's running Recruit. And I see why. I got a chance to type in something on another one of those websites that I get to watch some of the fights on. Rodolfo is a pretty scary cat in there, man. And I gotta go with him on this one. I want to see Crute win. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want to see Crute win, but it's not looking as though it is there. The opportunity will be there as Bellato has been on a roll lately. And of course, what is that? Pateria, that last fight, we got a chance to look at what was his first fight. That second round knockout is the one I think I got a chance to see. He looks pretty intimidating. And if you're not on your A game, he lands one of those hooks, it's over for you. And then, of course, in his last promotion, he was pretty much dominant there as well. I'm interested to see it turn into something good for Rodolfo as he slides up the rankings.
So you got Feralto.
I got Trator. That's the nickname from Trator. Whatever that
is. That who you picking with?
Yeah, running with it. Yep. You going Recruit?
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I'm probably gonna root for Jimmy. to kind of turn it around. Because man, 5 fights, just make it exciting if you lose, Jimmy. Because as we know, as we saw, Jarzinho no longer in the UFC. You can't put on boring fights anymore. They ain't gonna stand that shit. Man, yeah, I'm gonna go with Bahalto. I think he gets it done. Poor Jimmy. Five fights. 5 losses in a row. You're entering Tony Ferguson territory. We get into the third fight on the card. It is Australia's own.
My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. We get into Australia's own Justin Tafa. What?
What?
You're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
we got. You say something?
No. I thought you went blank for a second.
Okay. Okay. Justin, the return of Justin Tafa, 7-4. Tafa was on a nice 4-fight winning streak until his last one. He lost. All the wins, TKO in the first round. And he is 7-4, and he's making his UFC debut after he won the Contender Series. Taliesin Teixeira, he is 7-0. Tafa is the dog at plus 115. Teixeira minus 135. I don't foresee this one seeing the 3 rounds with.
Nah, man. This is the one you might as well go ahead and not go to get a beer for. Not just go ahead and have your beer ready after whatever happens with Rodolfo and Crute. Taliesin Teixeira. First of all, big shouts out to him. Like Bobby mentioned, doing his thing in the Contender Series and getting the eyes put on him on a big stage. I'm excited to see what he actually does at this place, because now this is where you got to make some noise. Heavyweight is really screaming for some new young blood, and he has got to come in and do his thing. But he's facing Justin Tafa, man, 7-4 right now. Just like you mentioned last week. I mean, his last fight got taken out. What can he do? What will he do? I really want to see it. But if I gotta go with, if I gotta go with the name right now, just for the sake of it, and real quick, like always, Tapology got Teixeira coming out with 77%, 1,226 votes for a knockout. Do we just go put Justin Tafa to the side and his whole resume? But Teixeira has gotten in his last 5 fights, all have been W's. Justin Tafa's last win was in 2023. I'm interested to see what the Youngblood's going to do with this one, man. And it's exciting to see. Most of the time, most Teixeiras, we all know a couple of Teixeiras, right? Glover Teixeira, this Teixeira. I want to see if the name goes with the fighting style, and I'm gonna run with the young gun on this one, bro. Let's see what Taliesin Teixeira does.
You, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm probably leaning the same way, just because heavyweight, you got the young guys coming in and the older guys in the division. Granted, Justin was on a little bit of a tear before he lost. He will have kind of the hometown crowd and stuff like that, so you'd think he'd be comfortable. Brother would probably be in his corner. But I think the line has it pretty spot on to more or less have it as a pick 'em, with slightly favored to the young guy there. So, I would probably pick Teixeira. However, I would not rule out that Tafa could definitely catch him or something. I hope to God we did not just jinx it into a 15-minute decision, because you would think absolutely it would be a fight that would not need the judges. But, I'll probably roll with Teixeira on that and see if he can keep the momentum going in the Contender Series. But will the lights be too bright in Sydney for the first UFC thing? So that one I'm, semi-excited for, even though it really does also feel like a throwaway Apex, like, heavyweight fight. But, it should be good. We know what we're here for.
Apex fight.
Yeah, Real quick. So it's funny. Like Tafa is plus 115 on the money line, but if you're gonna pick him, you might as well do the KO knockout because that's plus 160, and Teixeira is actually plus 120 to put out Justin Tafa. So
What's the decision
as far as that now, sub is a little different. They both plus 1,800 plus 950 for Tafa plus 1,000, and for Teixeira plus 950
for decision.
So
for decision, it's plus 1,000.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks it's going to the score.
Hey, if you want to live a little and make sure that you're gonna, I would legit consider that a Super Bowl prop. Like, why the fuck not? Like, worst case scenario, you get a good fight and you pay $5 for it.
Right? Definitely. Yeah. Definitely want to take a risk on with that.
The over-under is 1.5 on the rounds.
So, yeah, I could see it. They get tired.
Nobody thinks it's gonna last very long.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No subs, no ground.
So the Australians have three fighters on this main card. I have one and one. And with the dog on the card, taking it home for Australia's win at plus 115. And he's going to do it by knockout by plus 160. Give me Justin Tafa as my dog, baby. Australia's going home happy.
Somebody's got to do a shoey.
All right, let's get into we're all going to be doing some shoey. I always said if Tai Tuivasa won the heavyweight title, I would do a shoey, but luckily I don't ever think I'll have to worry about that. So
last place in the fantasy.
Let's get into the co-main event. Ooh. Let's get into the co-main event. It's the women's strawweight. Wei Li makes her return. Last time we saw her was at UFC at 300. She is on a 4-fight winning streak. She is 25-3. Let me look at the fight odds here. The money line. She is even money line, and she has taken on the forever game Tatiana Suarez. It has been a while since we've seen Tatiana. She is on. She's undefeated at 11-0. Bobby, your.
I'm very happy that the UFC is doing this fight. I wish they would have done this with Kayla Harrison. I did not really need to see her have to fight another contender or something. But, I get why they did it, to build suspense, and now they can do it up. But, with Tatiana's injury history, I understand why, they kind of just set her up to do there, especially, when it's definitely a fan-friendly fight. There are a lot of people that have been waiting to see her in this position for a long time. She's undefeated. So if I'm not mistaken, she opened up as the dog and is now a slight favorite, right? So, to me, it's
minus 120.
Mm-hmm. Like normally, I'd be a little worried about maybe the layoff or something like that. But Wei Li hasn't fought since UFC 300. So, and she's that last fight, she was in it the full 25 minutes. Granted, she was doing a lot of the damage, but she still took some blows there. So, Tatiana's takedown defense has always been pretty good. So I don't see Wei Li really being able to grapple, and but at the same time, it's really hard to discount what Wei Li has done. She lost the title and then came back and won it. She is, when you see her fighting, it's like Jesus. she's just like a genetic freak. She'll just kind of keep going and going and going, and the gas tank in her is pretty good. So I do think Tatiana is going to be able to eventually get in a grappling position where she could take advantage of. She should be able to hold her own in the striking with her. So not to discount the champ or anything, but I kind of like Tatiana on this on all ends. So I'm going to have to go and new here and go with Tatiana Suarez.
Wait, what about you, my man?
Muted.
Yeah, once again, the kids in here. Once again, I feel attached to this one because it was a year or so ago when Bakins and I were looking at Zhang Wei Li, and I think nobody expected her to do what she's done this far. I mean, especially with some of these tough wins. You know what I'm saying? With your over Jan Zaychik and Thug Rose, and the competition that she's faced so far, the back and forth that they've had, it's really one of those moments in which you go, hey, well, what's next for her? Does the next fight have the loss written all over it? And this is kind of one of those trap fights, man. Tatiana Suarez being 11-0. I think it's set up for a loss to go Whaley's way. You know what I'm saying? And the W to be put under her belt. As I look here at the Tapology numbers, Ryan, let's check out and see what they got. So this one for Whaley and Tatiana Suarez, they got 67% going to Whaley by submission. Suarez with 33% going to decision. For me, this is a tough one, man. I want to take the vet on this one. I want to take Jean Wei Li on this one. I want to say by decision. I think that I've seen enough of her fights in the ranks of 5 rounds, and I'm not saying that she fights cautious, but she does fight smart. Her gas tank is deep. She can go hard if necessary. And Tatiana Suarez is not to be slept on. If there's a opportunity for some grappling and a submission to be had, Suarez will take it. If there's a back, Suarez will take it. But Zhang Wei Li has been in there with some DOGSs and has come out on top in the last, especially in her last 4. So I'm going to roll with the champ. I'm going to say and still on this one, even though it's going to be an and still by decision, maybe even split decision, in my opinion.
Man, you know what's crazy is like I look at this like Tatiana just seems so much bigger than Wei Li. Like they're just body, but it's just like I'm like she's got to be like 3 inches taller than her. And I looked it up. They're about the same height. Like Tatiana's only like an inch taller. Obviously, it just seems like Tatiana's so much bigger. And Anthony's kind of hitting some stuff here on the head here. He's saying that Wei Li's had dozen main event 5 rounds. We've never seen Tatiana into the dark waters. We don't even know if she can go into 5 rounds. If she can go into those waters. We've never seen her that far. So like it's funny. Like I was talking pre-air, I said. And our 2025 preview show, do I go against it or do I go in what I feel now or what I was feeling when we did our 25 preview show? Well, I'm going to stick with what I predicted, and I predicted Tatiana Suarez to be female fighter of the year this year. So she's got to get off on and win in this one. So I'm going to go in new UFC Women's Strawweight Champion of the World, the unbreakable Tatiana Suarez.
Wow. I love how you went in new there.
It's the large cage.
Yeah, it's the normal size cage.
Yeah, regular degular
Yeah,
cage in there.
yeah,
Yeah, regular
yeah. It's
degular cage.
it's the normal one.
Not the BKFC
All right,
ropes.
boys. Let's get into the main. Yeah, no PKFC ropes. Let's get into the main event. It is the men's middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis trying to defend his title now for the second time. Remember, he just beat Izzy last year back in August. Won the title back in January against Sean Strickland, the man he faces once again. Dricus is 22-2. He is the favorite at minus 200, taking on the former champion Sean Strickland. His last time out, he beat Paulo Costa back in June. Sean is 29-6 and is the underdog at plus 170. Whit, who do you like in the main event at UFC 312, baby?
Let me tell you something, brother.
What?
This is one of those ones, man. If you can recall, I think myself, Bobby, we were all hype about the Dricus train. Oh man, Dricus du Plessis, the real Africanus, African wrestling man. You got to believe it. Blah blah blah. All that. The buck stops here. I think Sean Strickland. I think the when it actually happened, the relinquishing of the title between the two of them, it was to the naked eye a thin veil that was draped over Dricus du Plessis, and I say that with all due respect to him and the competition that he's faced thus far. He's not been thrusted into the spotlight. He has worked his way there. He has beat tough competition, but for some reason, it's just something about a white man with problems. And I think Sean Strickland is one of those guys. He's grown out the mustache. He's out here saying he's out here on his rampage, on his rants. Like, I think for some reason, him and the two of them together, it's two negatives just bumping heads. And when I say with problems, I'm talking about with problems with the other guy. Not like I see your face. I'm saying they got issues with one another. And it's crazy that for me, I know I'm sorry, it's Black History Month, but that's not where I'm going. The whole thing is they literally. I saw your face. I'm saying it's something about the two of them together when they have issues that somebody has to come out on top with more of the heinous reasons. And I feel like Sean Strickland is being put into a corner with this one, not only by the competition committee, but by himself. I really feel like him embracing the link with Poetan, having him in his corner, being training with him is going to take his fighting to another level. He's already had an unorthodox style of fighting. He's already had an unorthodox route to the title. He had an unorthodox title reign and ended up losing to Dricus du Plessis. This, I think, is being set up to possibly have him be right back in there, right on top. And it's crazy to me, but I really feel like this is the one where he will stamp his name in the books, on the history books, and take it from Dricus du Plessis, and we will be saying, and you. So give me
Bobby,
so give me Sean Strickland on this one, bro.
this is, I think, pretty much since you joined the show, this is one of the top 5 fights that I know that you wanted to see. And we finally get it on Saturday. Who do you like?
I could talk about this fight for an hour. I like it. It to me, it's really almost a story of the two coaches. Because like on our year-end show, I gave Drekis' coach of the year, because mainly because of that Strickland win and gained a win over Nitzik. And I'm very curious what Nitzik is going to do as far as, you know, knowing that they have that tape on him. Not only that, but they also have the Izzy fight as well. A lot of people hated Sean fighting Paulo Costa. To me, what I saw was he made sure not to put anything new on tape, and he just won the decision, not caring, So I'm very curious because I don't know if they can trust the judges. Because, I mean, last fight, I've been very on record that I think Sean won the last fight. It was a close.
You and Dana.
It was a very close decision. So I'm not trying to say he got robbed. Like when it's that close, there's going to be a winner either way. But in rewatching the fight, and I've watched it multiple times, I know people probably think I'm a sicko because of that, because I know a bunch of people who just can't stand this fight. And, Drekius is able to finish everyone else. Like look at Robert Whitaker. Look at Izzy. He eventually gets to him. For some reason, he just can't figure Sean Strickland out. And, when you saw his face and stuff, he looked like he took more damage. Granted, he used the wrestling positions to kind of niche out the rounds and win. So I think it's a very good chance that we see that again. But that's why I'm so excited to see like what these coaches do to adjust, because both of them are elite. Both of these fighters have elite defense. Drekius looks extremely awkward when he fights, but he finds a way to get it done. But, I don't know if it's my bias of thinking Sean won the first fight, but I think people are going to laugh when I say this. Sean didn't use his teep kick that much in the first fight, and he's used that a lot for the distance. I don't know, maybe if it had to do with how many takedowns Drekius was going for. He just, weaned off it. But Nixick was pretty clear that he wanted him to be throwing that. So I'm not saying like the teep kick is going to be the difference in this fight, but I do think he is going to have to do something different to win. I think it'd probably be pretty high up there that he'd be getting to finish, mainly because of Drekius' cardio, and he's not like the biggest power puncher. But I do think they're going to have to do something else to feel a little bit more comfortable about victory, because when it gets to the judges, I have a good feeling that Drekius is going to be able to win on positions. So with all that being said, I think I am going to have to go with New and think Strickland etches this out. And, I'm very excited to see if maybe DDP is able to use the first fight and really figure out Strickland's game. Like can he kind of implement the distance a little bit more? It'd be very interesting to see. But, whoever wins this is getting Chimaev. So we're going to be in a good place either way. And it's a great thing to head into Super Bowl with.
Yeah, true that. We get this on Saturday night, the Super Bowl on Sunday. Your Eagles are playing too. Man, they say you get better, 10% better when you have the belt. And I thought Drekius looked better in the Izzy fight than he did in the Sean fight. I don't think Sean looked better in the Costa fight than he looked any better than in the DDP fight. I do think that DDP got better. I think he is better. I think he's going to figure this is also a second chance for him to look at Sean's like that Philly shell style, boxing that he loves to do. And can he break through that? I think he can, because one thing is like everybody says about DDP, and it's true when you watch him, he's just the most awkward son of a bitch that throws a punch, like just every weird and awkward, and it works for him. With that being said, I'm going and UFC middleweight champion, Drickus du Plessis. It's me, it's DDP.
And I'm just gonna
That's
throw
who.
this out there.
Go ahead, Whit.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna throw it out there. Just the numbers like we were sticking with. 1460, 1,460 people agree with you on that one. They're going 76% for Drickus du Plessis, and the majority of it got it by decision. So hey man, the people agree with you, man. You are the people champ.
Yeah, A tier said it pretty much right here. Awkward offense, awkward defense. So that is probably the most truthful thing there is. Before we get up out of here, I know we got some boxing from this past weekend to get into.
And now, finally, a little bit of boxing. Okay, anyway, so y'all know I like to be grandiose with it because sometimes boxing doesn't have enough to hold us here on head kicks and haymakers, but this weekend proved the complete opposite. So first off, we got to throw a big shout out to David Benavidez and my guy Morrell. Look here, man. This was one of those ones that I think we were looking forward to because David Benavidez, for some odd reason, cannot get a hold of who he can fight so he can finally put his name where it needs to be up in the big lights. But the funny thing is, this was not a fight that he took. It did not show. The idea is, although he won the fight by majority decision, Morrell actually looked really good. You know what I'm saying? And it was an awkward thing because from the point of view of the viewer, they look very much alike. It looks very similar, but you got to understand that Benavidez is just a different type of puncher when it comes to volume and the strength and the output. So Benavidez was landing, but Morrell was hanging out there with him the whole time. Morrell in no way, shape, or form backed down in any round, I think, except for maybe the first two. But Morrell was right there, landing combinations, cutting through his defense with uppercuts, standing toe to toe, head to head. Like and it was if you're familiar with boxing, it was very much one of those Hispanic boxing matches where two guys put their head together and they're throwing uppercuts, a lot of body shots, and the last man standing wins. And then every time the bell rings, they stand back at each other and they go, "Okay, I got another one coming." So I really appreciated watching this fight this past weekend. Big shouts out to David Benavidez. Question now for Benavidez: does he fight and go for the ultimate 5-belt unification, where you get the possible winner of Dmitry Bivol and Madrimov, which will happen next month? I don't know, but it seems as though that is the direction he will have to go because and I'm gonna get to the reason why in just a second. Next thing, right? The actual fight to happen. So somehow, some way, little did we know, we had a Clarissa Shields fight this weekend. It was another Clarissa Shields fight. Clarissa Shields fought Danielle Perkins. And I don't know if you know, but Clarissa Shields is the GOAT. That's right, greatest woman of all time for a reason. Multiple Olympic gold medalist, multi-time, multi-divisional champion, winning there, and this is supposed to be her old sparring partner / friend, straight out of the hometown. Went in there and put the girl down, and it didn't even look the same. Came out with Papoose. Papoose tied her Timbs before the win. She looks amazing. I don't know how you put on that type of weight and you go up and down so easily in weight, but still look completely in shape and not like an inch of body fat on her looks out of place. And I'm a man, and I'm looking at a woman, but I'm looking at a woman that could beat my ass. Okay, so I'm not disrespecting her. All right, when I say that, but seriously though, Clarissa Shields, on the offset of this type of win, did have a couple of comments right at the cusp of Black History Month for none other than possibly one of the only other people whose resume could stand up against hers, Layla Ali. And Layla Ali's like, that's cute, baby. You a nice little girl. Keep your barrettes in your hair, but I'm not going to come down from my perch, grown woman status, and fight you for no money fight. You know, that's way past happening for Layla Ali. But big shouts out to Clarissa Shields. And then the news of all news has finally come across the table here at Headkicks and Haymakers when it comes to the boxing side. It's happened. The deal is done. The ink is dry. We're going to get the fight of fights that we've possibly been waiting for 3 years. We're going to get Canelo Alvarez versus Bud Crawford at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
That's Jake Paul.
Yeah. Canelo Alvarez
Jake Paul
versus Bud Crawford, September the 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. That's right. The Death Star is going to have one of the biggest and most anticipated fights in its history. I can't wait. And then, of course, you know, the Spear's right down the street. So they're going to have like crazy ads going around the Sphere for Canelo and Bud Crawford. I think this is actually putting not a cap on, but like giving us a pinnacle for the year in combat sports. When you say, you know, September, October, November, December, maybe 3-4 more months. I don't know what's going to happen after September, but definitely if we're going to say, hey, the biggest, most exciting fight is being placed right now, already on the books, I can't wait for that one, because in between we still got Bivol and Madrimov, Jamal and Madrimov still coming up, and then of course we got Tank and Lamont Roach in March. So we still got some good fights, but that one takes the cake. And once again, big shouts out and salam alaikum to all my brothers in Riyadh season and Turkey Al Sheikh for somehow, some way putting up enough of cachet to make sure that this went through on both sides, which will probably be one of the biggest paydays for both Canelo and Bud Crawford. Somebody's going to walk away and take care of their children's children after this fight. I'm pretty much sure.
Yeah, I don't really. Well, I mean, it's also been reported that he is fighting Jake Paul. Like Canelo is like before he fights Bud Crawford. I'm not a fan of the Bud Crawford fight. I just think like I didn't like Bud's last fight when he moved up in weight, and now he's going up again to fight Canelo. I get it, but like I don't like it. Hopefully he is gonna like put on some body weight before we get there, but I don't understand the Jake Paul. I guess it's just a money grab as far as the Jake Paul fight, but it is what it is. Everybody fighting.
I think Canelo's using that to get a bigger number from Turkey.
Yeah, I think that the idea was, you know, the Turkey Al Sheikh said last month or in December when he did a fight with when he did an interview with Ring Magazine, he made it clear that both sides had the paperwork, and that was in December when they had the Fighter of the Year awards and all that stuff like that. So I think that Canelo not showing up to Ring Magazine and him somehow sliding in there that he's considering fighting Jake Paul was one of those things like, hey, look, I got something else I could do if you don't make these numbers look better for me. Because even though Bud Crawford, and I understand what you're saying, Bud Crawford right now, this is the way that boxing is working. Right now, we just saw David Benavidez beat Joseph Morel. David Benavidez has 4 belts. He can only do one more thing and fight one more person to make more money. You know what I'm saying? Bud Crawford had, at the time, 5 belts in one lower division, one down. Put on 10, 15 more pounds and face Canelo, or sit there where you are and fight a recurring role or recurring reel of fighters. I'd rather take the lesser known road and fight Canelo for This is a legacy fight because Canelo is built basically as the money man right now because there is no Floyd. There's no Floyd. Floyd ain't coming out the woodworks to fight no real fight. He'll go to China now. Floyd will go to China and fight your favorite Chinese fighter for millions of dollars and dance around the ring. But since there's no Floyd, the only thing that makes sense is for him to fight Canelo because I guarantee you, Tank Davis will not put on 5 pounds and fight Bud Crawford. But Bud will go down 8-9 pounds and fight Tank Davis. But the thing is, the rehydration clause will leave Bud Crawford spent, and unlike any other situation, he won't look good. He won't. He would not. Bud Crawford can lose the weight and fight Tank for money, but Tank is going to bitch and moan about that rehydration clause because Tank is actually a smaller, diminutive guy who's just built like that. He's built to fight those fights, and he's going to make a living not moving. Everybody goes to Tank's weight class. They sign his paperwork and they get fooled. But it is what it is. When you can ride a bike and do cartwheels and wheelies down the street, you try not to get hit by a bus. Simple.
All right. Bobby, before we get out of here, you got any final thoughts on anything?
No, pretty much covered it all. The 11th round in the Benavidez fight was kind of wild. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, no. Enjoy the fights and go Birds.
Hell yeah. We'll be back this time next week, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, for the UFC at 312 post show. We'll talk all about the action and kind of what's next and who's next in this middleweight. And John Jones.
What?
Yeah, he's making a big announcement tomorrow.
No, I said who you got for the Super Bowl?
No.
Oh, who I got for the Super Bowl? Oh shit! I thought you said John Jones. Sorry. On my internet. I got the Chiefs.
That's what's up. Shout out to 10, man.
Well, this isn't a football show, so that
right.
doesn't really hold weight.
Yeah, I just wanted to
8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. We'll see you here tomorrow or next week. For UFC 312. It's been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm Bodkins for my guy Bobby and Witt. We'll catch you here next week, baby.
Peace.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.